I'm really serious. I think that's a good idea.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about?
It's about nothing.
No story?
No, forget the story.
You gotta have a story.
Who says you gotta have a story?
Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Instead, only try to realize the truth. There is no spoon.
There is no spoon.
I'll tell you what it's worth. Not a damn thing. It's a waste of time.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Frivolous Fandom with Mike, Kev, and John.
Hello.
John has returned.
John, come back.
I believe this makes John the most reoccurring guest. I believe.
I mean,
I think so,
Because
yeah.
you and Kimo were tied, and now you're back.
I'm back.
You are back.
Back in action.
And I can't think of anybody better to have. The topic of the evening is what else? The R-rated sensation Deadpool. We'll get there in a couple minutes. We got some ground to cover before then. It's been quite a while, Mike.
Been a few weeks, right? You know?
Because it's been a long time, and then you weren't on the last cast, and so
Nope.
it's been even longer
It's been a bit.
since we've had the gang back, and the boys were back in town, so to speak.
The boys are back in town.
Mike,
That was horrible.
John.
That was
That
great.
was actually
It was
not
great.
the worst.
Yeah.
I've heard worse than Lizzie's. If you've ever been to the bar, you've heard a worse than Lizzie's. than that. Mike, John, I think we need to take a minute, just sitting right there. Tell them how we became the princes of a town called Bel Air.
Well,
I'll stop now. Okay,
West
so-
Philadelphia, born and raised,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
the playground was where I spent most of my days.
So out on the playground, they play movies from time to time.
Just a little bit.
What, are
Uh,
they still DVD players?
Yeah,
well,
actually.
Not,
Right.
my hood, it was VHSs, but
Okay, fair enough.
I'm in West Philadelphia. You know what I'm saying. So have you guys seen any movies lately? Segue.
the kind you ride?
This is that Segway was almost as useful as the
ride this
vehicle. Yeah.
Alright, so we'll start off, I guess, with...
Me and Mike saw most of the same movies because I saw most of the movies with you.
Yeah, we watched them together. So I guess the first one is The Revenant. John, have you seen that one yet?
I have not, but I've heard
Highly-
good things.
highly
Yeah,
recommend.
Really good
So,
things.
do we just want to say our thoughts like as we approach each movie? Do you just want to? say
Yeah,
our
we'll
thoughts
just
on-
spitball
Okay.
it.
Yeah,
We'll
so-
keep it relatively spoiler
Yeah,
free.
this one's gonna be mostly spoiler free. Here's what I would tell you about The Revenant, in my opinion. Great.
What DiCaprio will do for an Oscar.
You're right. Just give him the Oscar because he's basically selling his body at this point just to get that Oscar. But he's convincing the wrong people because everyone who watches the movies already knows he deserves an Oscar. I always wonder, I don't know what movies the Academy Awards people watch. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's got a better chance of getting an Oscar from that movie than
I
him,
hope not.
which is depressing.
Yeah.
This is the first movie where you couldn't, like, that people say, like, you can't understand Tom Hardy, that I can't argue. Like, he definitely had some marbles in his mouth for that whole movie. Especially in his
To
old
be fair, that
tirade.
was probably historically accurate.
Right, yeah, no. I mean, it wasn't like a deal breaker. He's still good in the movie. But, obviously Leo's great. Like, his performance is why it's a one-man show, basically.
Oh, man. Like, it's him in the elements.
And, it deserves the hype it's getting. I mean, it's the Birdman guy, obviously, and it does Birdman-y type things, like a lot of one-shots. And the one-shots here are even more impressive because, A, they're out in, like, real life, as well as there's way more players, so to speak. Like, this isn't a spoiler. The first scene where the engines are attacking, there's, like, a 15-minute one-shot with, like...
If I remember correctly,
There's probably a couple, like, cuts in there that are hidden really well.
they're not Kree. The Kree were the people.
The Kree are the people, is it from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Okay, quick history lesson. There is a tribe indigenous to North America that's spelled Cree that are the Kree.
No, you're right. They were definitely calling because I kept thinking, are they saying Creek?
Which is another tribe, oddly enough. So that doesn't help for.
There's no confusion there at all.
No.
So last thing I'll say, Revenant, great movie, still worth it, like must see no matter what. But it would have been even better in my opinion if it did one less of everything that it does well. So one less catastrophe, one less drawn out scene of Leonardo DiCaprio grunting, and like one less hallucination, and boom, you have just A++. Because it was a little too long for my taste. I mean,
Well, and even I'm a Jack London fan for anybody who reads, so that should tell you how much I like wilderness stories.
Mike reads.
Who knows that?
Cheerio.
You can't see the monocle and the pinky I have in the air, but I've got them right now.
For those of you that read, has there ever been a more condescending statement? I'm kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time. Okay, so you read a lot of Jack London.
Well, I grew up,
Emphasis on the read.
yeah, I grew up reading that stuff. So I and Louis L'Amour and that whole like genre of American West and wilderness stories. So I eat that stuff up, and I still was like, we can shave about a half an hour off of this,
Right, because, well, I don't mind a long movie as long as everything feels constructive, but, like, towards the end it just felt a little redundant. And it is funny, though, because Villain of the Year definitely goes to that bear.
Oh my god,
I know it's only February.
that bear was savage.
But I didn't need a reminder.
Yeah, that bear was
It's savage, man.
well. The only
That bear made being savage cool again.
My only rebuttal, I guess, is that I think maybe the gratuitousness was the point. Like, he wanted that movie to feel exhausting.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, definitely.
But hey,
To me, though, it's like, that's great if you're a film fan, but if you're, like, a person that
if you're
just
a filthy
appreciate...
casual,
Yeah. Yeah, right. We'll get more onto that dirty casual later.
At least now you know the recipe for his success to get his Oscar. Just one less.
just more
Right.
pain, but not that much pain.
You know,
perfect
we should
pain.
do a detailed list of this, but, like, my brother was going on about a theory of, like, there's always one moment in all of Leo's movies where he loses the Oscar. So, for example, in Django, when he gets off of the carriage and goes, "Where is my beautiful sister?"
And that's that.
His voice cracks in a very Leonardo DiCaprio way that all of a sudden you get taken out of it. You're
One
like,
less.
yeah, right. And he already had so many, like, over the top scenes.
We need to shelve that idea and actually get your brother on to do that.
Yeah,
Like, that
no,
needs to
because
happen.
he'd probably be better on it. And you know what? His voice does crack. And the Revenant, he goes, "Get to the boats!" And, like, his voice does the Leonardo DiCaprio crack. That's not why. If he doesn't get an Oscar, that's not one of those. I'm not saying that's one of those. If anything, it's the director's fault. Because, like I said, one less scene of him grunting probably would have done the job. What else we
Well,
got?
speaking of grunting, I guess we get to Hail Caesar, which was a very I really liked it. I really did like that.
It was
movie.
a pleasant surprise.
I think you made the joke with me for the Coen brothers. It's one for us, one for them,
Right.
and this was for us. Like, which means we can't go see the
Well,
next
no,
one.
this is honestly, this isn't one of their better movies overall, if we're talking like on a purely critical level, but it is the first movie I think they've ever made that was one for us that also happened to be one for them.
Oh yeah, they indulged. I mean, it's one of those things where when you direct No Country for Old Men, you set your own bar dumb high.
Right.
Like, just ridiculously high.
Right.
And so then, you kind of back yourself into a corner because that's your, it's dark.
Everyone wants the next movie to be No Country for Old Men.
And it's never going to be. Mm-hmm. Because they're actual artists.
It's
they're
the
not there
same
to
thing
peddle,
with, It's the same thing with, like, Christopher Nolan when they're like, Dark Knight comes out and then everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it was dark, but it was a little too dark. I'd like to have a little bit more cheery emotion from a Christopher Nolan movie." And then Interstellar comes out and people are like, "What the hell? Is this a Disney movie? Why is it so warm and fuzzy?" Like, okay. Like, you reach a certain level of, like, your movies, like, that one movie you make is so flawless that, like, just all other movies, you know what I mean? Like, people are, like, upset that it's not that movie.
We
You know what I
also
mean?
need to do the what the hell? Why do all of you people hate Christopher Nolan? Cast?
Yeah, I don't know. I love Nolan movies.
Right.
It's funny because every review of a Nolan movie has a jab in there about, "Oh my gosh, the fanboys are, like, overwhelming," but I never see these fanboys on the internet.
Yeah,
I
what
guess-
fanboys are you talking about?
I guess I don't go on threads enough or something, but yeah, it's always like, "Oh man," despite what the fanboys say, the overwhelming, like, fanboy population. I'm just like, what is this? You guys are just making this up to justify your overly negative opinion.
Or the Phantom Menace in the background waiting.
No. Please, no.
Oh, never say... Wait, no.
Never say that ever again.
Don't mention that. That is a curse word.
That's not a thing.
So, I don't know. Do you
Speaking
have
of
a lot more to add on Hail Caesar? Because I have one more thing to add.
I think what the great thing about Hail Caesar was that it was a period piece that didn't feel like a period piece. You got thrust into this world that doesn't exist anymore. that's very pertinent to the culture that we deal with now, because that pop culture fed into pop culture. You know, it was 1950s.
That honestly was where the basis of pop culture. You know what I mean? That was the first time they were reaching a nationwide audience.
Well,
with, like, you know what I mean?
The Brolin's character's talking about, okay, we need to make sure this woman marries a guy before she has her baby, because that would look... I mean, it really does highlight an era of American culture that just doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Who bats an eyelash when a gorgeous starlet gives birth out of wedlock?
No, yeah. You'd never...
Who even notices?
It becomes positive.
You'd be a misogynist for thinking of it.
So it's a snapshot in history. And then the Red Scare, the commies. Like, it's perfect.
Right. Well, yeah, and here's what I'll say. The reason I enjoyed Hail Caesar so much, because I actually wasn't even going to see it until Mike was like, do you want to go see it? And I guess I was like, okay. So, yeah, it's a real hard sell. But Hail Caesar was not the movie that it was the advertisements or the trailers made it out to be, in my opinion.
No, not at all.
Because the trailer makes it look like it's going to be about George Clooney. It's really not about George Clooney. I don't like George Clooney, and let's see if I can say George Clooney a couple more times, but... He wasn't in it he was in it, but I mean, he wasn't the focus. Josh Brolin, who's a great actor.
See, the trailer's what netted me in, because I saw that they took the time and they had a scene shot, like a title screen scene shot for each and every major character.
Right.
And granted, star-studded cast, which, no offense to the Coen brothers, that doesn't necessarily mean...
Jonah Hill's in one scene. Like, I'll just tell you that right now. Like, he's in the trailer as long as he's in the actual movie.
That's probably, it's not very different.
Yeah, but...
Well, and it really, like, the fact that they had the footage to do that, like, you got Scarlett Johansson grinning for, like, a good 5 seconds. That means that you actually had to shoot a scene where she's doing something other than interacting with somebody else.
Right.
And it's about her.
Well, and they went to a great pains, I'm sure, to film, like, a legit song and dance number, like, Western scene. Like, they film, like, all these famous genres from back in the day that were popular. Like, they film a very... heartfelt and like true to the like real effects, real choreography. Like they went to the effort to plan all that out and get people that could perform it. So
it worked. And I guess that's what I just want to say. You don't necessarily need to see it in theaters, but watch it. It's really good.
I agree with that.
And then I'm gonna let you handle this one, buddy. The Choice.
The Choice. Okay, so I did you guys see John? You saw The Choice, right?
No.
Okay.
But whose choice was it to see The Choice?
Well, it was my girlfriend. She's a lovely gal.
Under the bus she goes.
See, I didn't want to do this, Mike. You're the one that wrote down The Choice and asked me.
And I'm sorry, this was just too funny
Here,
to pass up.
let me redeem her. So she saw Star Wars with me, so this was a fair trade. And it was Valentine's Day, so I mean, she deserved this one.
Somebody got the short end of the stick, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's like, like we're kind of like the Coens, one for her, one for me. I had to have my one for me with Star Wars.
Well, see, but Star Wars is kind of like Hail Caesar because it's for both of you.
Not really. I mean, she didn't like it a lot, yeah. But still, actually.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just taking a very good chance to
thank you for helping me so
chops.
much. Yeah,
these opportunities don't offer
The
themselves
Choice
up very
is
often.
not my favorite. I enjoyed it because I was with my girlfriend and she loved it. And so if you're into Nicholas Sparks, like hardcore, you're gonna like it. If you're anybody else, it's not gonna be your favorite. That's all I'll say about that.
And there we have it.
I don't know.
So
there's a scene in the rain. There's a scene on the boat. It's a Nicholas Sparks movie.
So speaking of movies where if you're a fan of the person, it's probably going to be fantastic, and if you're not, we'll see. Hateful Eight.
John, you saw it. Wait, yeah, you saw Hateful Eight.
Yeah, I did not get to see it.
You didn't see Hateful Eight with us?
Oh
no,
my gosh!
No, you guys.
Oh, my bad. I thought what?
I know, we had a bunch of people that wanted to go see it because you reserved like a day or something.
Yeah.
But it was not me. I was not one of them.
I just assumed John's so often one of them. My bad.
Yep.
Yeah, you're usually one of our Hateful Eight, so, I mean...
Who are we kicking out of the group then? Because we have more than 8 friends.
I never did like that Mike guy. No, I'm just kidding. We can be Hateful 9. There's no law. Like, Hateful 8 doesn't even rhyme or anything. It's just a number.
Hate 8.
Hateful.
Hate 8.
It sounds good. No. It sounds good, but it doesn't rhyme. It sounds better than Hateful 9, but I'm not committed to the name.
If you can find anything that sounds good with 9, then I'll roll with it.
Jive Full 9.
Jive Full 9.
Wow.
It's just all 70s groove tracks.
Jive turkey over here.
Okay. 70s grooves tracks. I can get behind that. Just disco around.
It's
You know?
just-
You remember?
It's just me and John freestyle dancing. No planned choreography whatsoever. I can get behind that, and I think John can. I don't know if anybody else in the entire world can.
You guys would be surprised. I think we could get some people on our side.
Come with me to the
Here's a
internet.
tip
We'll find
for
weirder crap.
Here's
We'll
a
find
tip
way
for
weirder
rising
crap.
filmmakers. Start out with the one for them. Because if you do the one for you first...
You don't get another shot.
Yeah, your career's over. So what are we talking about? Hateful Eight?
So honestly, I will give a warning. I drive an ambulance for a living, and that movie kind of turned my stomach a bit at some parts.
Yeah. Well,
Like-
I mean, it's a Tarantino movie.
Even for Tarantino, like I've seen some gross stuff in real life, and this movie definitely.
Well, yeah.
made
The
me
first
pause.
2.5 hours weren't that violent. I mean, there was some, but it wasn't that bad. But yeah, the last half hour. Spoiler alert. No, I mean, this is... So I don't know if it's a chicken or the egg kind of situation, but I saw this movie and then Revenant like 4 days later. And so maybe that's why I thought The Revenant was too long, so I just sat through Hateful Eight.
Okay.
This is another movie that needed one less of everything. Maybe like one less character. The Hateful Seven doesn't sound good. I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't even almost rhyme.
I think the problem too is that Tarantino sets up these shots, these panning global shots, and then he narrows in. And for credits, how long are his credits? That
Yeah.
doesn't help at all. And I
Well,
understand why he's doing
it zooms in on a crucifix for literally maybe 2 entire minutes, like to start that movie, and like it wasn't. My brother leaned over to me and went, "Does the movie start soon?" But I think everyone was thinking that, just like, all right, like I get it. And the song was even good. It even took a good song and made it like annoying because you're just like, all right, I'm ready to start. The soundtrack was not like it was nothing. It's not like a whistling. You can't whistle the tune or something. It's not an iconic.
I believe
Soundtrack,
I believe
right?
it's a pan whistle that he uses. It's that like that screechy.
Well, I just mean like the melody itself wasn't something that just it's like an earbug or something.
Like the Kill Bill, like whenever it introduces something, it has that thing.
Yeah, like you remember, right? It's very
Yeah.
distinct. Like I would say this soundtrack didn't have anything that jumped out as me as memorable, but I do remember it being very good for what it was there. Like it sets the mood, and it's a really soundtrack. That's what I was about to say.
Tarantino finds some of the best, and I should probably go and find out who writes the music for his stuff. But
Right.
The score highlights insanity stupid well. like that very unsettling. You feel your skin crawls while a certain scene happens
Right.
because of the music, and then you're watching it, and it puts you that you're unsettled. Like if you're not disturbed
Right.
watching a Tarantino film, I kind of don't want to be around you.
Yeah, because a lot of his films are kind of gut churning.
Yeah. Well, I
They're
mean,
great though.
the whole
Yeah.
point of this movie, like, I mean, he's always had entire scene, like, he has scenes, right? Like, he always has scenes, like, in Inglourious Bastards with, Hans Landa, does he remember the Jewish girl? Like, that, I hate that scene because it goes on too long, but the whole point of the scene was, does he remember her? Like, does he recognize that that's the Jewish girl that got away, so to speak? And then, that's one scene. Well, Hateful Eight is that for an entire movie. I mean, it's literally 2.5 hours of tension just rising steadily. Because you're like, at first you're like, okay, well, these are just people that don't get along. And then you're realizing more and more that there's more to the story than that. I will say, I enjoyed, without going into it, the twist. At the end of this movie.
That was fantastic.
This isn't one of my favorite Tarantino movies
No.
on the whole, but I really enjoyed the twist at the end. So, like, I didn't feel, even though it was too long, I wasn't, like, upset about it, so to speak. I got my money's worth. You get enough Sam Jackson doing Sam Jackson in there that was worth the price of admission,
I have a feeling that the next movie Tarantino's going to direct is going to be N-Word the Musical, starring Samuel L. Jackson.
Well,
and that's
it's
how
just-
it's going to go.
It's so funny because people are like, they don't, it's just like with Kanye West. It's like if you stop giving him attention, he'll stop doing it. Because it's like,
Oh, I agree, but I don't expect people to stop giving him attention.
it's just funny. It's like Spike Lee. If anybody's to blame for Hateful Eight, it's Spike
Spike
Lee.
Lee.
It's like when he made such a big deal out of the N-word for Django, which was a better movie than this, in my opinion. But it's just like, you knew he was going to do it again. And guess what? I was reading like multiples of articles about, does Tarantino, is he just trying to be black? Does he wish he was black?
I
And
want to
it's
see
like,
a
well, yes, he
conversation
does.
between Sam Jackson. I want to see a conversation between Sam Jackson and Spike Lee about
I
this.
think it's, you can easily find, well, Sam Jackson defended Tarantino too.
Well, yeah. Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna fudge the quote, but it was something about like Spike Lee. It's probably because he hadn't had a hit movie in a while. It was something along those lines. Like he hadn't been in the headlines in a while, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
that and the Knicks suck.
Like, Sam Jackson he's a former Black Panther. If he's not that upset about it, like it's clearly not a big deal.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go into that story because it's really, really funny. But look it up. It's funny how one incident in somebody's life changes a bunch of other stuff. Anyways.
Like the Butterfly Effect, the movie featuring Ashton Kutcher. Can we talk about that? Or wait, that wasn't this year. My bad.
No.
I saw that before Star Wars, actually.
I mean, some of these movies weren't even this year. It's 2016 now.
That's true. Time flies.
Oh, yeah. It's the second month.
Let's just jump to 2017 already.
All right.
It's coming up.
Well, you know what? Since we're going about that, so the main topic of our little foray.
Oh wait, did we already go through all the movies we saw?
Yep.
Really?
Okay, can I bring up one more?
Sure.
Speaking of, because this movie came out in early 2015, I think. I saw Everest recently.
Oh.
And
how is it?
What is it?
Yeah.
It's about a mountain.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Without spoiling it, they climb a mountain. I won't tell you which mountain.
Smart Alec moment of the year
goes
to.
Yeah. So they're climbing Everest, and it has Josh Brolin, actually another all-star cast, basically. But the main components are the guy from the new Terminator / Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
What's that guy's name? He's been in a lot of stuff recently. But anyways, he basically is leading, or essentially it's about commercialization of
like the expedition?
Everest. Yeah, basically. Because when in the 50s, whenever they first climbed to the top of Everest, only the brave and the boldest,
it was an adventure.
Yeah, and like you had to be
adventure.
Not many people could do it.
Yeah,
at the time,
nobody had ever done it, and so basically that was quite the feat. It is still quite the feat, but they basically perfected it to the point where they said, look, we feel like we can make this a business. We feel like we can reliably get people to the top of Everest and get them down. And they have to be experienced climbers, but they can be amateur climbers. You know what I mean? And so it's all about this guy. It's basically his business to kill Nazis. No. Sorry. His business is to get people to the top of Everest, and business is a booming. But then Jake Gyllenhaal's in it, and he's leading he's a competitor basically to this guy. So it's basically about these two people. It's not necessarily adversarial. It is because they both want to make a name for themselves of being
the business. But
it's not like about them like going at it or something. It's just about the hardships that come naturally of climbing to the top of Everest. And it gave me a new appreciation because obviously you know that it's not easy to climb the top of Everest.
Yeah.
And you hear about people dying or heard about how many people died trying, in the past and still could easily. But just the nature of it, like the base of Everest, I think was 12,000 feet. So Denver, they hype it up as the Mile High City, and it is a big deal because it's one of the only large downtown areas. Well, not one of the only, but it's a large downtown area at that elevation. We'll add Flagstaff, which is 7,000 feet. Add that to Denver, and then you have the bottom of Mount Everest, right? Yeah. And so you have to have tanks of oxygen, blah blah blah. You have to. It's difficult even with those things. And so, yeah, definitely give me a new appreciation. It's worth a watch. I wouldn't be in too big of a hurry. It's a good movie, though. And it's just funny because I'm like, man, I must really be into survival movies because Martian and Revenant and Everest.
Heck yeah.
That could be a cast, man. Survival movies. Castaway, that just came out.
You heard that?
Anyways, you heard it here first. Castaway, good movie.
Well, cool.
Oh my gosh, dude, we're about to do it again, Mike. We haven't asked John the 3 questions.
The 3 questions.
We're failures. We hyped up that we had Rick Grimes' 3 questions that we're going to ask every new guest.
See, but we're not failures because you came through.
Yeah, 5 casts or 6 casts after the fact.
Better late than never.
Hey, I like this guy's thinking over here. So,
I'm an optimist.
Do you remember what they are, even?
Okay, the hard part.
Here's why I remembered, because Castaway is a Tom Hanks movie. Okay. So the first question, though, is Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle?
Squirtle.
I knew I liked this guy. I knew I liked this guy.
Filthy water type.
I had version red, Charmander's on there. I was like, I started with Charmander, right? I was
Dude,
like, I don't like
I started
him.
with Charmander.
I don't like him. So then I restarted my game and started with Squirtle. I was like,
you gotta work the Ember. That's all. Just gotta work the Ember.
Dude, John, me and you.
I got him evolved to Charmeleon, just couldn't hang. So
Dude,
Squirtle.
Charmeleon was always
He hung
too
just
angsty.
fine.
He was too angsty.
Let me know how your Wartortle did against the Leaf Gym leader.
Amazingly.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I bet.
Because Mike, we only need Squirtle, so he's like level 70 by the time you
Also,
get
you watch Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
I cosplay Kamina, right? Okay,
Yeah.
Squirrel Squad leader. What's he got? What's he got on his eyes?
He's got Kamina glasses.
Kamina
that's
glasses.
right.
There we go.
Still Team Charmander.
That's what we were saying. You could do a dope ass
He's a freaking
Squirtle
dragon.
Squirtle Kamina mashup. That's
Oh
just
my
a
god, that
freebie.
needs to
Just
happen.
pointing, yeah.
Dude, you need to do that.
It's funny because we saw today. We went to Imperial. Quick side story to be super quick. We went to Imperial Games because Chemo was playing Netrunner, and we saw a Pikachu Kamina mashup, and we're just like, "Why is that not a Squirtle mashup?"
Yeah, I
Right?
was
Squirtle
like,
Squad.
that's cool,
Squad.
but it's not Squirtle.
Right?
Oh man,
All
dude,
right.
this guy's my dude over here. Because I was the same way. I got red version because my brother had blue version, and then I was like, nah, and then I switched over to blue version because apparently there's 2 save slots. Like, no, there's only one
there's
back
only
then.
one,
Huh?
yeah.
Oh man, I think I had to wait for my brother to beat it, and then I was like, finally.
What's your favorite Tom Hanks movie?
I'm
Don't answer this too quickly, by the way, because everyone always answers and they forget that he's been in like a trillion good movies.
no, I actually
Let's
really
do-
like Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump?
That
Okay.
is, yeah. No, I
It's respectable.
I don't know. That's just one that I like a lot.
Yeah,
so.
it's one of those movies that I don't personally love it, but I'm not gonna I can't argue. It's a
I like
great
the
movie.
story, so I don't really like the characters themselves, but just the
You
overall
don't like
theme.
Lieutenant Dan?
Bubba Gump.
I like how it's kind of like because it doesn't take itself seriously, so
Yeah.
I like
Right.
that.
That's true, and
I like that.
It's whimsical.
I would say, yeah, it was ahead of its time. I mean, it was kind of meta humor.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
And a
and
period before that was, and we'll get to that. By the way.
jump of the gun.
yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
and the last one, this one's really bad. So, I guess we already had The Force Awakens happen. So, if you had to pick the lesser of 2 evils, who would you rather have direct?
Oh wait, was this
Star Wars
is this the question
episode.
we want to go with?
Star Wars Episode 8.
Okay.
M. Night Shyamalan or Michael Bay?
yeah.
Or better yet, you have your baby, your movie. You have 2 choices. You have Michael Bay.
Those
or
are the
M. Night
only
Shyamalan.
2 I
That's
can
it.
choose.
Those are the only 2 that.
And
that-
it's my movie.
It's your movie.
Yeah. All of your money is on the line.
And
You're the
and
one that's
justify your
entirely
answer
funding this.
because I'm sure there are arguments against and for both compared to each other.
Mike went with the harder. We had a different question that we had a couple questions that we could throw in there for the third. You chose the hardest
I'm
one.
like, I want to go hard.
I don't
It's 'cause he
really
picked
want.
Squirtle.
I don't really want twists, in my movies. With
You're not a twisty guy?
I don't want my M. Night Shyamalan twists
Okay.
in my Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to go with Michael Bay because of his expertise in explosions
And boobies.
and boobies. Yeah,
The only thing better than explosions.
dude, nerds love both of those things, so
Right?
You'll at
And
least
yet
make
they
your money back.
And yet they still hate Bay.
they still hate.
By
Bay,
the way,
but,
Transformers 4 made $1 billion. So
He's doing something right.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll put his name there, but it won't be in big bold letters.
It's
It's my money, right? You said it's my money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my money. I'm making his name really tiny. He'll be in there. It's really tiny.
You footed the bill. You pay for the font size on the poster. And he's not in the intro
my
credits.
God.
He's only at the end. That way they've already paid. You know. they
Yeah.
I'm
can't-
so glad you
it's too
remembered
late to
to
go
ask
get a
these
refund.
questions. I'm so glad. All right, cool. Well, so now that
Well, he belongs. You belong, John.
yes,
Congratulations.
welcome. You've joined the fraternity of question answerers.
Who else is in the league of?
Yeah, you're a league of
You're-
one.
you're a league of one.
Because
That's
we
it.
suck. Yeah, well,
So for now, you're number 1.
He was number 1.
Good thing we're the hosts
Right.
because this is the first time we've remembered in 7 casts since we decided to do this.
We get a loud high five.
But John, way to be a trendsetter because now I really want to do this for the
Yeah,
next
keep it
cast that
going.
we have on here. So if you'd given dull answers, it'd have been like, well, maybe
It's-
not.
You know, it's worked out well that we haven't been doing it, but apparently.
Anything that makes me talk like this, maybe not. You know, when you get a little voice in this voice, it's cool. This voice ain't
That
cool,
got
man.
dangerously Cosby-like. We need to stay away from that.
Oh,
Stay
man.
away from that.
It was at least subversive Cosby. Now it's overt Cosby.
Cosby.
Oh, now we're eating the jello, we're eating the pudding pops. Here, let me break down every Cosby impression. Theo, pudding pops. That's the 3 things that every Cosby impression has.
Actually, a couple of them are getting pretty colorful now.
No, we're not. No.
We're back better.
Kanye West said it though. Bill Cosby is innocent.
You know that doesn't help. That doesn't help Bill Cosby.
Do we want to talk about Life of Pablo?
The Life of Cosby?
The Life of Cosbo?
Cosbo. All right, well, I guess I'm going to course direct.
Yeah, you're gonna have to coerce.
So, since our topic is about the pool of dead people.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of morbid.
Yeah. I mean, it fits. It really does. So, Deadpool was awesome.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Spoiler alert, dog!
No.
These people might not have seen it.
That's a recommendation.
They might not know what awesome is.
Well, yeah. They will.
Then what the hell are they listening to our cast for?
Oh, is that self-aggrandizing?
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay. You know what? I'll buy it for $1. No, you know what else was bought for $1? Basically Deadpool. It was only
Reynolds was like, hey, can I have this for a buck? And Fox like, knock yourself out.
I think it was $35 million for a major superhero release. And it made... I think more than that, right?
It broke Star Wars Star Wars' record in Russia.
Really? Well, yeah.
In Russia?
In Russia.
As I say, Star Wars is the biggest North American movie of all time, but it's not. It's just not the same, I think, overseas to an extent.
Pretty well renowned, like everywhere though. That's
the
nice thing about it.
Because it's one of those things where, like, in America, you don't have to be a movie fan to go see Star Wars. Whereas, like, if you're overseas, if you're a movie fan, you go see it. But the casual person probably doesn't have as much of.
Definitely an American icon.
But I would say that overseas people don't have an attachment to Deadpool, so it's still a testament. Like, I don't know how Deadpool is pulling this off.
Sadly, that fits Russia's culture really well, and we'll get to that later. What I think the first thing we want to bring.
So, anyways, we're not break. This is not breaking news that Deadpool is great and broke box office records, but we're gonna get into the nitty gritty.
How the hell did we get here? That's the first. That's the first thing on the menu. How did we get to where this was a thing?
Well, let's go to John because he's actually been a Deadpool fan. I haven't been a Deadpool fan historically.
I defer to John. I'm like a semi-casual.
I mean, John, hey, how did you get into Deadpool? Was it something was it like a buddy referred? Was it just something you kind of caught on the internets? Like,
did you like Cable?
Well, I knew who Cable was because of the X-Men, but the thing is, so there's a game. Was it Marvel Ultimate Alliance, right? And I went over to one of our friend Justin's houses, and they're like, play this game with, like, me. It was Justin and D, and I went over to their house and, like, let's play this. I was like, okay, I have no clue what it is.
That game was 4-player, huh?
Yeah.
Man.
And it was couch co-op, which was amazing.
That's not a thing this day and age, but that's a different
unless you're Nintendo.
We were playing it, and they're like... I was like, who's like cool in this game? Because they picked Spider-Man.
They picked all the tops,
and
right?
I'm like, I don't know.
Sorry, John, you can't. I'll let you play Spider-Man, but he's level 3, man. It took me like all of 5 minutes to get here. I can't go back on that, John. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So then I was like, well, Deadpool, and I started playing him, and then I noticed that he like doesn't shut the fuck up
ever.
Sorry about the words, but if you see Deadpool, you'll understand.
If you saw Deadpool and were willing to then listen to a discussion on Deadpool, clearly the F word does not fit.
His name, his epitaph is the Merc with the Mouth.
Yeah. And so that's kind of like what got me into Deadpool, and then I started getting really like interested in him. So I started reading comics about him, and then I was like, this character is batshit insane. And he's great for that.
In all the
right ways.
In all the right ways. Yes.
Can I give us a tad more history? So, how old were you? Probably like 10 or 12, somewhere in there. Marvel Ultimate Alliance, that's going...
It's like 14.
14? Okay.
Yeah.
So, John as a kid said the darndest things. They could have had a show called John Said... Another Cosby, sorry. So I keep bringing it back to Cosby.
That one's not on me, guys.
No, but like in band class, which is like where in the trumpet section, which is where all the misfits and
we were the worst.
Juvenile delinquents
We were the worst.
The section of misfit trumpet, the section of misfit instrument players.
Like, John is kind of like Will Ferrell. Like, he just had a knack for taking out of the air random combinations of words that you're like, why would you even ever think to say that? But it was always really funny. And so I'm sure at that age, a guy who just does the same thing, like Deadpool, just pulls like weird things.
Yeah,
out
no,
of the
I
air.
definitely Deadpool is definitely like personification.
It spoke to your soul.
Yeah, I felt one with the character.
Right.
Well, if we had to pick an element to embody young John, it was chaos.
It was
definitely
chaos. That was back when sugar was not quite as frowned upon. You could still buy sodas at grade schools.
Oh yeah, you know the really giant Pixie Six. You know, me and Justin buy those, pour them in our Mountain Dew, good to go.
That's true gamer fuel.
Here's the thing. I watched them do it. He's not exaggerating. That happened.
So
I'd still do it actually. So, you know, send me some of that. I'll do it. I'll film it for you guys.
So John, break down then. So that's about going on 10 years then, and break down the progression as you've witnessed it. I mean, not saying that the way you've seen it is the way everybody's seen it, but the growth of the popularity of the character. Because for me, I didn't really know Deadpool until around Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Like, I think that was kind of like when I was like...
Yeah, no, that definitely, I think that's when a big spurt hit for
Right.
it. Especially with, like, Nolan North. He's a perfect voice actor for it as well.
He was Deadpool.
So it made,
wasn't he?
so it made Deadpool, like...
Cool.
Yeah, it made Deadpool cool. Not because it was Nolan North, but because of how good Nolan North is as a voice actor.
Right.
And I'm gonna put a slight censor on this because we're gonna get into this kind of territory far later.
For something.
So,
All I'll say
Okay.
is that
Say
Nolan
it.
North saying bang 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 bang.
Yeah.
His voice is one I picture saying bang
Exactly.
bang bang bang.
So
bang.
that's-
Chimichangas.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they play those games. It's like, that's a really easy game to pick up. And
It is.
anyone can play it.
Right. It's the game that you do play with somebody that doesn't necessarily play fighting games. So they're like, I don't know what to do. Just hit buttons.
Smash.
Yeah, and so, like, and then Deadpool was just a hilarious character. He broke the fourth wall in that game itself, too. So,
Right.
you know, it's kind of... I believe that's kind of
In
what
a game
brought
full
more
of colorful
popularity.
characters, that's an aspect that would make a character pop.
Yeah. So he stuck out in that, and then...
I remember because he went, "Hello."
yeah, like, he just did, like, really random things, and so it's memorable.
Right.
And people were like, who is this guy?
I like it.
I remember from, like, that, too, we were like, who's Rocket Raccoon? Who are, like, these people, you
Yes,
know?
it's so true.
And so
I did not know who
people
Rocket Raccoon was.
probably did the exact same stuff. Who is Deadpool? They looked him up and they're like, this character is ridiculous.
Right?
And so the popularity from that grew even more. And, you know, so he's in a lot of like team ups and stuff for the comic book readers. But if you weren't a reader, you wouldn't really know who Deadpool is. Because he wasn't in mainstream media until, well, like, I guess Marvel Ultimate Alliance. But
Yeah. Well, and then they tried to include him, and I'm going to use the word tried with an underline and an asterisk here, to integrate him into X-Men Wolverine's origins. And I think honestly,
I think that's another boon, but like...
that's where this movie, that's the tragedy that begets wonder. For
It
this
kind of,
movie.
yeah, it was kind of like, I remember when that movie came out, Deadpool was kind of like playground talk, you know? Like,
Right.
who was that guy? Oh, I think he's Deadpool. Who's Deadpool? You know? It was
Right.
kind of that kind of...
There wasn't the level of outright... Like now, let's say you could somehow reverse time, right? And this movie came out before X-Men Origins Wolverine. The outrage of that character would have been deafening to the point of like... You know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I mean? Whereas like the hardcore Deadpool fan... Like I remember you and a couple other people saying like, the way they did Deadpool just ruins the movie. Even though it's not that great of a movie to begin with. But that was like a deal breaker, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know,
Bad writing's
nobody
bad.
liked it. Nobody was like, that was a great character. But it's just like, personally, I didn't like the character, but I didn't have attachment.
Yeah,
right? So
I
I'm just
didn't
like-
know I was playing or watching Mortal Kombat. Like, why is Baraka in this?
Which is a great reference.
actually
If I'm
works.
being honest, I leaned over to Autumn, another friend of ours who's a Deadpool fan. I was like, what's up, Baraka? She's like, that's what he looked like in Wolverine Origins. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You would have heard my barking laughter when that happened. But
So, if anything, if there was ever anything that curbed probably that character's growth by 5 years which is what it's been.
see, but I would argue that this movie happened because of that bad.
No, I completely agree.
That's
yeah.
true, yeah.
Because
If
Ryan Reynolds was the actor.
Yeah,
Ryan Reynolds
if
played
they-
him and did a very good Wade
That
Wilson.
the first scene
Yeah.
with him when he's actually a merc.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I
sure.
agree.
You just don't see him again until the end of the movie, and his spoiler alert, his mouth is sewn shut.
Okay, that hit the 5-year spoiler.
Yeah, and it's not a
gauge.
good movie, anyways.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm spoiling
Don't see it.
Empire Strikes
Just-
Back
just
or
don't.
something. Nobody. would
Yeah, I
ever
tried to
do that.
get this guy, Kevin, not to see it, and I think,
I
you
did,
finally
yeah.
saw it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
My mom
literally
bought
lost
it.
the movie, and
My-
it was fate.
I always told him not to see it. We'd
Well,
go over to our friend
here's the
Andrews.
thing. Me and my mom, we were driving from Chicago, Illinois to Springfield, Illinois a couple summers ago, and in the bin for like $2 at a gas station was X-Men Origins, and my mom goes, "Hey, I like X-Men. You want to watch this?" And when your mom wants to watch a superhero movie just out of the blue, and you're a grown, like, if you're a kid, moms will take you to superhero movies just because, but, like, as a grown man, when your mom's like, "Oh, watch a superhero movie," you don't say no. You're just like, "Yeah, that'd be actually kind of,
Mom?
yeah, it's cool."
Maybe I'm a snob. I'd have been like, not that movie.
Because nowadays my mom's like, "You should look at Downton Abbey," and I'm like, "Nah."
But he hadn't seen it. That's the thing. If I had seen it already, I'd be like, "No, Mom, trust me, you don't want to see that."
Well, I missed it.
You want no part of this.
Well, I missed it in theaters, and then it was like every friend ever.
Yeah, we
telling
tried
me,
to.
"Don't do
Yeah,
this."
we tried
Terrible.
to keep you away from it. It was
It's still a
sin.
piece of history, and it makes you appreciate this new Deadpool movie.
yeah.
So,
Well, and so Ryan Reynolds got reamed on media about this, and fans would write in and say, "I hate what you did to this character."
right? Because
Yeah, because he picked any of that,
Right.
which is for
And that
Yeah.
dude, honestly, I don't remember quite the anger against the Deadpool as much as Green Lantern. That was the movie to me where people were like, "Ryan Reynolds,
Oh,
you
Green
ruined the
Lantern,
character."
yeah.
Because I think some people understood with X-Men, okay, it was written that way. Like, he did great with the first scene, where he got to be the character. But, like, Green Lantern, everyone's like, "This movie sucks, Ryan Reynolds, you suck, like, you did this," and then he jabs that in Deadpool repeatedly.
he pokes it. Well, I mean,
So many Green Lantern
Yeah.
references. It's really good.
yeah,
It's just cool because that's part of our pop culture, and it pokes fun at it. So that's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
And like the whole thing, because he
Very
says,
Deadpool.
"Whatever suit you make for me, please don't let it be green or animated." I mean, is that Ryan Reynolds' fault? Like, maybe they mentioned to him what the suit was going to look at like, but in like principal photography, that animation on his suit isn't in there yet.
No, he has no idea.
He probably had to dress up in something, so they probably told him like, "Why am I wearing these?"
green tight spandex.
Yeah,
Like lime green spandex.
you're right. This isn't a Green Lantern outfit. Don't worry.
It will be.
But still, it's like he didn't have control over what that looks like, and probably didn't know until after the movie was shot how bad that was going to look.
Well, and so like it's one of those things where you gotta wonder what movies had to happen before this happened. We have Zack Snyder, we have Tarantino. The bloody,
Right.
the guts, the dark and gritty, the not lighthearted or campy superhero stuff.
Right.
So you have to have dramatic Marvel. You have to have Nolan with the dark, somber, not really campy Batman.
Right.
You have to have.
Well, you have to have Nolan also to bring more people in, because now, like, you have an entire new sect of fans that just watch the movies. Like, there are people that are diehard superhero movie fans that don't ever, or probably plan to even read the comics because, there's so many things.
Well, especially now that Disney's going to spoon feed them the entire
Right.
universe.
But, I mean, that's not even on them, because I'm the same way. Like, I'm getting more into Avengers now because Chris lends me a bunch of Avengers stuff. But I was never into that, but I see all the movies. You know what I mean? And same as Deadpool, I'm a really big fan of this movie, but I'd be lying to be like, yeah, I'm a Deadpool fan, because like, I really wasn't that much.
They'll
until
put
this.
together a definitive collection soon, and then you'll be able to sort through all the hubbub. Because
Right.
well, and I piss off comic fans when I say this, but the problem with funny books is that you either have really good storytelling or you have really bad storytelling, and it
Yeah.
alternates
Right.
with characters. They never want to pay the same writer to do it for 50 years because then you have to pay Stan Lee.
Right.
So they keep cycling. And here's the problem: just like with The Walking Dead, you shuffle the deck, you don't know what you're going to get out.
Right. I mean, that's the number one problem with Walking Dead, and this is another cast, is like, they change showrunners every season.
Every single time.
And every season doesn't flow well in the next, right? So it's the same thing with comics, and they reboot every time. There's Kevin Smith was talking about this on a recent podcast, just like how they have so many number one issues, like first issues. So it's like the more times you reboot a series and have a number one, it just diminishes the value.
And by the way, we're going to have another guest on about comic collecting and how it's mutated into something. But again, that's a whole other cast. But that in itself, having back issues and having variants,
right,
and them trying to turn it into a collector's item.
Yeah, it's just weird. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So okay, so the
I'm not a variant fan, so
Yeah.
you like the pure,
yeah. I'm all
you like
about
that
the
blue
classics.
stuff, you like the Heisenberg, just the OG,
Just the OG. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I respect
Heisenberg. Yeah.
98. What was it? 99.8% pure.
Damn.
But so what we're talking about? Movies.
Well, we kind of talk about movies that laid the groundwork, and then honestly, you kind of have to have this director do his thing. In earlier flicks, you have to have Zombieland.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have.
Well, that was the writers.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the writers.
Yeah.
But on to that point is like they got people that
They have the humor.
They have the humor. They have the tone that you need, and they have experience in that realm, and clearly they have a love for the source material. And it's funny how long it took them. And there's a whole thing with Kevin Smith that you can go watch. Like, he did some speech somewhere where he basically, and now there's a documentary actually, not about Kevin Smith, but he's in it, but about Superman Lives, the movie. There was going to be a Superman movie, I believe, directed by Tim Burton. And like at that time, they got Kevin Smith to write the script, and the movie never got made, but they got him to write the script, and he literally says to them, "Why don't you get such and so, some famous writer from a Superman run? So why don't you get them to do it? Like, they know Superman. Like, they're responsible for a lot of the memorable like aspects of the character that people remember." And they're like, no, that's comic book guy. We need movie guys. And like back then, they didn't understand.
Right.
That you don't need to be a movie guy. Just get somebody that loves the source material, and they're gonna work hard and write, the stuff that's gonna be true to the comics themselves, and showcase the better aspects of the character. That is the reason people fell in love with the character in the first place.
Yeah, it's going to definitely please the fans, and that's what you want to do. Like,
right.
That's how you make your money.
Yeah.
Right. And the whole point about the movie is you're bringing it to a new audience, right? And so it's like when you give somebody, a movie guy, quote unquote, to write the script that doesn't understand why the character is good, how are they going to...
credit card.
right. The money, by the way. The money is not why we like Bruce Wayne. But yeah, they're not going to understand. How do you convey to a new audience what is so good about this character? They don't get that.
No, they don't understand it.
So, and by the way, to speak to the movies that came before it, we did that a little quick. I just want to talk about some of them that came before it, like Kick-Ass, because there's like, why do you guys think Kick-Ass was a pretty big hit for the genre fans like us? Like, I love Kick-Ass. That one didn't light the world on fire.
I think the reason it didn't light the world on fire was it hits a level of disgust that for some reason Deadpool didn't.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I felt sick to my stomach during some scenes in Kick-Ass.
The first one?
Yeah, and that was done intentionally. They intentionally wanted you to feel really uncomfortable with normal people running around trying to be superheroes.
Right.
And I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm going to leave it at that. But
right.
The author's whole point was for you to be really unsettled by the prospect of this. Deadpool totally goes the other direction, and it's just as gratuitous.
Right.
But it's not dark. It really isn't. And it should be, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's light and fluffy.
You're right.
Laced with cyanide.
Yeah, I mean, like humor is like sugar, right? Like, people can't handle certain complex flavors for the refined palate. You sugar it up and they're going to drink it. It's the reason that Pepsi wins most taste tests, but doesn't, like, people don't prefer, well, I don't say people don't, but a lot of people still prefer Coke, is Pepsi's sweeter, so you like it for that little bit you get, right? And so it's the same thing with humor. I mean, that's just the sugar of movies. And so, like, with Deadpool, like, the humor came at you so rapidly that you just kind of get disarmed, and you're not, like, when gratuitous violence happens, it's just not quite as disgusting.
And I think the other thing, too, is Kick-Ass was a little more realistic in terms of its...
Right.
The pacing of the violence, it's not, it's like Deadpool's running around cutting people's heads off, but he's doing it while snapping one-liners.
Right.
And you kind of are like, ooh, pow, bang. It's got more in common with Adam West Batman than Kick-Ass, where it slows down to show you the blood, and it slows down to show you the very not cool, gross consequences of somebody being stabbed in the stomach.
Yeah, it's like going up against a cartel.
Yeah.
Right.
So, torture and real torture, like messed up torture.
Right. And I feel like, and that doesn't make, I'm not trying to say like Deadpool's a better movie, because I like both actually pretty equally, to be honest. But the thing about Deadpool is I feel like it was written from a place of affection for comics, where it's meant to, like, yeah, it's poking fun at comics because it understands how ridiculous they are. But at the same time, it's basking in them. It's, it's enjoying the cheesy things about comics that they do well, right? Whereas, like, Kick-Ass, I feel like is just much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's just much more critical. You almost don't feel like the writer...
The other problem with Kick-Ass, I think, happened at the very end, where a certain event happens that totally takes you out of the experience. The suspension of disbelief is shattered in that moment.
Well, but I'm just talking tonally. Like, it just didn't seem to... It was like, it didn't like comics. It's like pointing out this is how stupid they are.
Yeah.
Look how dumb this is and how how disgusted you would be to see this kind of thing in real life. Whereas like Deadpool's like, yeah, it's stupid, and look how awesome this can still be, despite how stupid it is.
It's like your goofy friends from grade school all getting hammered and joking into the night. Like, no other group of people would think this is funny.
What? Don't we do that like every Saturday?
Don't most affluent young people in America do that every week? No, it definitely. I don't know. Maybe it's a cop out that it has this humor that makes you like not as critical.
Right.
I don't think it's a cop out. I do think it really does. Because
Again, though, that's a key aspect of the character.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's hitting to where like it's where it needs to be. It's doing the character.
He's a foil to. I mean, the problem with Deadpool too is Deadpool is way deeper than you think he is.
Yeah, no,
when you get into it.
He's actually a deep character. Like he's got some issues.
Very serious.
Well, John, what you were saying, you were like, they're in the comics,
Right.
when he needs to be serious, like
Yeah, there's moments where he is serious, and you can tell a difference between like when he's just like joking around and then when he wants the business done. Like you can tell, like, and he's not as funny. He's still funny. He's still Deadpool, but he wants his work done.
right.
And
And they nailed that, and that's why like I hope it does get kind of underwritten for this film, because Ryan Reynolds is essentially being Ryan Reynolds. I mean, like he literally was born like even going back to his like Van Wilder character, just like the mannerisms of that character translate. It is Wade Wilson, but the dramatic moments of this movie, like for the most part, all worked, and like some of the scenes towards the beginning between him and not counting the gratuitous sex scenes and stuff, but like after that when they're actually in a relationship.
By the way, did we mention don't bring your kids to this movie, please, for the love of God?
Yeah, we went opening night.
please don't.
We went opening night, and the only thing more gratuitous than the nudity, the language, and the violence was the amount of children in the theater. There's so many kids.
Yeah, I made some jokes to the parents.
Yeah, like come on.
I straight up looked at a
Mike did
mom.
too.
I straight up looked at a mom and said, "You're being a bad parent."
Right, like it's not even like just give the kid a couple years. Like it's just you're not gonna put good thoughts in your kid's head at that age.
Couple. This girl on her lap was 5.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
Give her a decade.
Some scenes in the movie happened, and that's how she was made just a little bit ago.
she's seeing her creation not 5 years earlier.
I mean, let's be honest. The script is probably older than she is, guys. Come on.
Right, Ryan Reynolds has
God.
been campaigning for this movie longer than some of the
He's been
kids that
alive.
have seen it have been alive.
God.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, don't bring your kids, please.
well, okay, so
It's R-rated. They've been hyping up that it's R-rated for a reason.
so I guess that's a really good segue for us to go into what is the success of this type of R-rated movie mean for A, R-rated movies, B, comic book R-rated movies, and C, comic book movies in general.
Yeah.
Like, I think a really good pro that we have now is this might open the floodgates for more creative license to be given to other directors who go, hey, I've been pushing this really dark, edgy stuff from this shadowy character that we haven't dealt with.
Right.
What happens if you actually write a Spawn movie the way Spawn is written? Not the trashy 80s stuff that we saw.
Yeah, that'd be really intense. Like,
Right? I don't know about good.
Imagining this. Yeah,
Right?
I don't know if it'd be good, but it'd be intense.
Or
They are making Spawn, aren't they?
Are they?
No, I haven't heard. I mean, I don't know. if they are or not.
So a guy at work who's very proficient in gossip told me they are. I haven't fact checked it.
See, the floodgates. They're opening.
Right.
Right. Well, because that's the thing. Everybody wanted dark and edgy after Tim Burton made Batman.
No, to be honest though, that does seem like a fake headline that like fans would put up in hopes that people
Like a
catch
Reddit
whiff of
post.
it. And even once it's debunked, you've given it so much publicity that somebody's like, you know what? Why don't we do Spawn?
Hell,
yeah.
Whoever owns that,
Yeah.
They'll give you $5 million.
So, in my opinion, for R-rated movies, I don't think it's going to do much. I mean, R-rated movies are going to do what they want to do. That's the reason they're R-rated, right? Is because they're not holding anything back. They're violent. They're whatever they want to be. In terms of comic book R-rated movies, hopefully this won't be a negative because the humor is so integral to this movie, and it's such, and like everything had to go right for it to work. You had to have the right actor, you had to have the right writers, you had to have the right director, and they all had to love the character and understand the humor that it's going for. And if you're missing any one of those ingredients, like
Doesn't
you
work.
give the best writing to the wrong actor, and that movie falls a little flat at parts. And so, and we can talk about, this is why I don't like the Deadpool character, is only because, as I've historically seen him, the humor hasn't been funny. To me, at least. Like, so many renditions of that character, it's kind of forced upon.
There's too many writers, like, for Deadpool now. So
right.
I agree.
And, like, John, you played the Deadpool game?
Yeah.
Was that game funny?
No.
You wanted it to be. I could tell from the way you answered that. You wanted it to be funny.
Yeah, no, I definitely wanted that game to be something it wasn't, which was funny.
You wanted it to be the Deadpool movie?
I wanted it to be the Deadpool movie, yeah.
Yeah, I think people who love Deadpool and played that game deserve this movie big time. But yeah, so when that humor falls flat, it doesn't work. And so I'm just worried that people are going to see that opening, that niche is like, wow, we can make it funny, we can get away with things, with the violence, with the sex, with all this, as long as we make it funny. And if that doesn't work out, does the movie work out as a whole?
See, this is one of the things that I like. I would like to see a legit Black Widow actual assassin storyline. That's dark, like an actual assassin storyline would be, like some of the Cold War scary stuff that happened in the shadows. I don't think you can do it now because of what's happened with the Avengers, and that character is a little too far gone in the more comic-y.
Well, yeah, you'd have to do a thing where it's a comic thing where this is a different. You could even say parallel universe Black Widow, and I don't know if movie fans are ready for that. The comic book fans embraced long ago that like there's gonna be a million storylines.
Well, you have to, otherwise you don't get new stories. that was it. That was the decision.
Right. And yeah. So basically, you're thinking just more true, dark and edgy, like more true to the the subject matter.
Yep. Well, I guess I should reaffirm, not Silver Age, post Renaissance for Marvel, Black Widow. Or, shoot, find some of the... I mean, I'd like to see a dark Hellboy. Not that the Hellboys that have been out are bad. They were good movies.
Yeah, but they're drawing the line between campy and dark, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they know that they're going to a campy audience to an extent.
Or hell, something Cthulhu-esque.
Cthulhu-esque.
Like something really like...
Has there been a Cthulhu movie? Like, anything?
No, and it's
That's
hard to
one of
do.
those things that hasn't bridged the gap from true nerd culture to nerd chic yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well,
in board games it has. There's a trillion Cthulhu board games.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty, they have Cthulhu.
Well, in video games
At
keep
least
trying
the
to do
intro.
Cthulhu, but they can't get it right. And Extra Credits, another shout out, does a really good episode on why Cthulhu doesn't work in video games. Because the whole point of Cthulhu is he's an eldritch abomination that you cannot beat.
Lives in the fourth dimension.
He's just gone.
I don't know.
Well, that's the thing.
I don't know.
He's cosmic horror. He's
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because I really don't know much about Cthulhu, but I think he's one of those creatures / villains that you need to not see fully. I think the problem is there was like, here's Cthulhu, you're looking at him, he looks like Davy Jones from frickin' Pirates of the Caribbean with mouth tentacles.
Well, and see,
But it's like you should never quite know what, or, you know what I mean? Like,
well, that's the thing. He's unknowable. He might as well be a deity.
Right.
Like imagine if God, or our concept of God, didn't like you, or just didn't care that you existed.
Right. It's the same thing as like Slenderman. Like Slenderman, you need to not quite know how tall he is. You need to only see glimpses. How long are those arms? I'm not sure I saw the end of that arm.
What the hell is he doing with those children?
I'm not sure I saw quite how tall he is. I can only see a glimpse. I could see his face, but only vaguely because it was up above the tree brush. Whatever,
Yeah.
The second you see, or like if he's unknowable, the whole scary part about Slenderman is what is he exactly. Same with Cthulhu. Like, what are the extent of what he's capable of? Like, what are the side effects of being near him? Like, things like that. Like, that's what makes Cthulhu scary. And so, I don't know.
Ooh. And I'm my fanboy's about to show, but what honestly would be really cool is if they could make a movie based off of the first Fallout game storyline and make it just as dark, just as grim.
What about the, how do you feel about the Warcraft movie then, coming from video game?
See, but it's...
That looks dark, man.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
Dark elf.
Warcraft was never very dark. It tried to be a little bit towards the end, but it
Was
never.
the first Fallout
It had a lich.
Oh yeah, the first Fallout. I mean, that's it. Like, there's a porn studio in the first Fallout.
I don't know if that's dark or not, though.
Trust me, the way they... Well, that's the thing.
They weren't even being paid, John.
But, Fallout, actually, it's very grim. It's very... It's not... Everybody likes the fact that you can blow stuff up with laser beams.
Yeah.
But the concept of the vaults, the concept of how the wasteland develops, the power structure, the federal government becomes this boogeyman in the night, hunting people down. Mutants drag you from your homes and dunk you in radioactive vats to turn you into a mutant.
Yeah, that stuff is...
I mean, we're talking really, really messed up stuff. And and that's the thing, it would all have to be tonal. It wouldn't even have to be a very difficult thing to write, instead of just having them dunked into the water and having them come up and be a mutant. Pan the camera a little bit and watch them freak out as they're being lowered.
Yeah.
Put you in the shoes more.
Yeah.
I mean, my one counterpoint to that is it can't just be about, like, oh, it's dark and edgy, because Watchmen is a perfect example of a movie that I think was tonally true. And, like, I've heard from people that, oh my gosh, this was so true to the comic. I've never read the comic, so I guess I'm speaking a little out of place here.
John's shaking his head, and I'm about to jump in on that too.
But like, I don't know. Maybe knowing the comic would help me see past that movie's flaws more. But just something about it, I couldn't relate to the characters. I don't know. I need to rewatch it, I guess. But when I first saw that movie, it just didn't quite do it for me. But it was so different, right? Like, to this day, that movie is still different.
Oh, it's
I've never seen a superhero movie like that.
Well, it just the problem is you can't adapt that entire series into one movie very well. It's just too haphazard. It's just too...
Isn't it funny the movies
they made it too condensed?
Yeah.
Isn't it funny the movies that need to be more movies that aren't, and then the movies that don't need to be 3 movies? Like,
yeah.
Hobbit, that are.
Oh my God.
It's just funny. Or, like, any movie that gets split into 2 movies. Like, I don't know, every young adult novel movie ever.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, yeah.
Funny
I'm
how
sure
that works.
I don't know. I'm sure there's good reasons. I don't know. I don't know what the code is there. Because, again, the humor makes it just so accessible with more people. So maybe Watchmen is not a funny movie at all. And so, when you don't have an affinity...
But it was actually a really, there were parts in the comics that... I mean, and I'm not a big Alan Moore fan, comparatively. But I appreciate Watchmen for what it is.
Mm.
I think Alan Moore does a little too much projective... what's the term where you basically project yourself onto a character, and then it's almost
basically
he's
writing from himself. He's
Yeah.
He's not writing a character. He's literally making a statement, like personal statement through the character. Yeah.
I think his version of Ozymandias is him condensing his own ego into a character and then pumping it up.
Right, just because, being smart doesn't help you fight. I'm sorry, I don't care if you understand physics. Einstein is not going to beat Mike Tyson in a fight.
No,
you know? Einstein understands why Mike Tyson's punches hurt people probably more than Mike Tyson, but doesn't mean that he's going to be able to fight him.
Well, and the whole concept of the comedian was not really fleshed out very well. The concept of Dr. Manhattan wasn't even fleshed out very well.
The comedian's not hardly in the movie.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? He's in that opening montage.
Huge in the series.
Right.
Through flashbacks. You know, the weight that the comedian carries is huge.
Well, and I guess, dude, humor as sugar is just the best analogy, because the sex scene with Dr. Manhattan and what's her name was just so much. You're like, this is kind of gross watching this. Whereas the sex scene in Deadpool when they're feeding each other Thanksgiving dinner.
That was hilarious.
I mean, that's equally gross, but it's just you already know what you're in for, I guess. I don't know why. I can't quite explain. I guess just because I like things that are funny, and that movie had already been funny, and so it's just you're willing to give it some passes.
Well, it's kind of like Guardians. Guardians had you, and that's the thing. Comedy and drama is there to relieve the tension.
Right.
So it's kind of a weird balance, because Deadpool turns that rule on its head and goes, everything will be funny and you will laugh.
Right.
And we did.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, whereas Guardians was okay, the drama's getting a little heavy. We still need to keep this camp poppy doodle. Let's throw in a one-liner from Chris Pratt.
Well, I feel like the drama, it was the opposite in Guardians. The drama was there to relieve the comedy, because so much of that movie is fun and carefree and funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, obviously they start with the drama with that first scene where his mom's dying, blah, blah, blah. But there's certain points in that movie where it gets, all of a sudden it gets kind of dramatic, and you're like, whoa, why do I feel bad for a raccoon? You know,
what? I'm pretty sure that was the whole point, though, that how you get through tragedy is by laughing.
Yeah.
And that's how all those smartasses cope with their problems.
John,
except for Drax, because
John,
Drax is autistic.
I'll let you go into this. And so, basically, we'll make this quick, but me and John both like the Amazing Spider-Man movies because they get Spider-Man's crap-talky attitude correct, where the original 3 don't. John, I'll let you explain why it's so integral. Like, Spider-Man being kind of sarcastic shit-talker is integral to the character.
Yeah, well, it's how he like copes with being. It's because he's had tragedy in his life, and that's kind of
I share this opinion, by the way.
Yeah, to get by with it is he jokes about it. Like, so if anything bad happens to him, he still keeps it in his mind, but to get through, he's just funny about it. So.
Right, and like he's never gonna hurt these guys past where he has to, and so like making fun of them is like the catharsis because he's not a guy. He's like Batman. Batman's totally okay with hurting some of the bad guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's not funny about
it. Right.
Oh, no.
Like, Batman fully embraces, like, my catharsis is beating the living crap
out
of these guys. Whereas Spider-Man is not going to beat somebody, needlessly, but he's going to make fun of them the whole time.
But here's the deal. If Batman punches a guy in the ribs as hard as he can, it's very unlikely, even if he's super, pushing the boundary to superhuman, he's going to kill them. Spider-Man could put his hand through somebody's skull if he wanted to.
Yeah.
If he wasn't being perfectly careful. Because that's a running gag with Superior Spider-Man is, not to spoil, but suddenly Spider-Man kills somebody and goes, oh, whoops.
I'm really strong.
Yeah.
Right.
This is awkward.
How the turntables, like, I swatted them with a newspaper this time.
Like, damn. But yeah. I do think we've already kind of touched on the one con of what the floodgate has been is we're going to have cheap knockoffs.
Right.
Because that's Hollywood.
I mean, we had to be prepared. I think you will get some more gems. I think this will inspire more gems. But it will water it down. And, you know what I mean? Like, with anything, you're going to reach saturation.
You're going to get some turds.
You're going to dig for gold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dig through the poop.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't know why the gold's in the poop, but it is.
Hey, maybe you ate some gold.
Yeah, some
I don't judge your diet.
Well, so, and I guess we kind of already touched on this component, but another thing is the meta fourth wall breaking humor was mandatory for this movie, and I think John touched on it pretty well. That is the character.
Yeah.
That's Deadpool.
That's what he does.
Yeah, literally, and that's what made this movie so funny, was like, it felt like it was written by 4 guys having beers, just writing down the best bits, or like recording a conversation like, oh, we're keeping that bit. Like, so much of it is him looking at the audience and winking. He's wearing a mask, and so like they do a little bit with the eyes, like the whites of the eyes, to like add kind of inflections and stuff. But it's like you just feel the wink at the camera when he's saying things.
The first time he addresses the crowd was unbelievably funny to me. So
Mike, you've seen it twice, so I can't recall.
Oh,
what in your opinion was the first nod that you?
The first nod, he goes, "Oh, hello there." I know, right? I get my very own movie.
I guess that was like 5 seconds into the movie.
Whose balls did I have to fondle?
That was good.
I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with Wolverine. He's got some smooth criminals down under.
Yeah, and that was a jab at Hugh Jackman being Australian, right?
Yeah,
okay,
I hit the ground.
And a Michael Jackson reference, like that lays the table for frickin' Wham! You know, it all.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, there's definitely some layers to this movie.
Well, I even turned to because I watched the movie like right before coming here to record it with my sister, and I elbowed her and go, "Remember, Hugh Jackman, who plays Wolverine, is Australian." She's like, "Why are you telling me this?" I'm like, "It will be important soon." And then the line got delivered, and she laughed. I went, "Okay, thank you." I'm like, "You're welcome."
Right?
Like, because I
hadn't put that together. It's funny because he just used an Australian accent randomly, and I laughed at the smooth criminal part. Without even, I never thought about that.
Well, by the way, Ryan Reynolds did a PSA about testicular cancer as Deadpool.
And he did one for Australia Day, using an Australian accent. I mean, dude, Deadpool is a marketing freaking wonder.
Oh,
man.
It's great. It's wonderful. Cause
if you want to sell something, just give it to Deadpool and let him go nuts, you know?
So it's a franchise.
Yeah. One of the best lines in the whole movie is they're going over Deadpool's new name, and they're like, sounds good. And then I think it was T.J. Miller, or what's his name in the movie?
Weasel.
Like somebody goes, sounds like a franchise. Because that's every freaking movie studio heads' hope and dream is that this superhero strikes it big
Right.
so it can make the second one.
Such a big house in here. It's almost, I only see two of you. It's almost as if the studio couldn't afford any more X-Men. And we're like, that's great.
Right. And and it's just one of those things where they knew what they had. I mean, they're making jokes about sequels, and Deadpool 2 is already in the works. Like,
Yeah.
they knew what they had here, and it's just one of those things where they knew their audience so well. Like, there is a post-credit scene, stay for it, that's all we'll say.
Yeah,
but my point with the post-credit scene is it was so spot on towards the audience they're appealing to that you're like, these guys get it.
Oh, they understand. Well, and that's the thing. Ryan Reynolds is a hero in this whole situation because he got converted and became the standard bearer.
Right.
He kept bugging Fox. This needs to happen. You could make a lot of money. This needs to happen. There's a hardcore group of fans that will make this movie worthwhile.
Right.
Guaranteed.
Ryan Reynolds' conversion would be a good segue to a whole nother podcast that we want to make for a while, though, about nerd culture. And when did it become nerd chic? Like, when did that transition happen? When did you not have to be ashamed anymore of liking this stuff, you know?
And that'll actually fit into our last topic for today, too. So we'll show that.
Well, okay, do we have anything left to say about meta humor?
I think it has to be done properly, and I don't think it would work for any other character this way.
Like, any other character, it's going to be like, oh, wow, they're just trying to, they're trying to be Deadpool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Like, that's why Deadpool's the only one.
Like, who else? I mean, Spidey could, but now he can't. Like, it's an arms race, and, Deadpool already launched the first nuke.
Yeah, kind of a game over at that point.
I mean, to be fair,
destroy each other.
I mean, I don't know if Spider-Man
Yeah.
was actually a fourth wall breaker before, but Spider-Man was always the start.
He was just
that
funny,
sarcasm and humor was the basis of, they took it to the next level with Deadpool.
Well, the one fight scene I remember reading, where it was Spidey versus Deadpool, was that they were talking shit to each other the whole time. And it was glorious. But Deadpool would bring in the audience, and Spidey routinely be like, who the hell are you talking to?
Yeah, right.
Like, you're not even talking to yourself anymore. Like, who are you talking to?
Right.
Because I'm sure most of the characters that deal with Deadpool are used to him talking to himself.
Yeah.
Because there's two voice boxes. But then he talks to somebody like it's
Bad
like,
Deadpool.
you're not talking to yourself anymore. Who are you talking to?
He's like, bad Deadpool. Worth it.
And they even had an X-Man say, oh, he thinks he's a comic book character. And then Deadpool looks at the panel and goes, yeah.
Right. And they think I'm the one that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that kind of a wink to the
And
crowd.
you just see everybody else in the frame just shake their heads like, oh,
I do have to say, though, I do miss yellow text box and white text box.
oh, they were great.
What was it? Was one to the...
One's crazy and one's, proper.
Really?
One's
Okay.
the id and one's the super ego.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Was that on a specific run, or is that something they adopted and ran with for most of it?
It wasn't initially there, but it did start. I'm trying to think. Was it in the first, Deadpool,
It was the first standalone.
Yeah.
After they brought Deadpool back in
Okay.
conjunction with Wolverine.
Got you.
Because they're both Canadian,
Yeah.
Weapon X, yada yada.
Right.
But yeah. And honestly,
They should understand each other. Only thing is Logan doesn't. He's no nonsense.
Logan straight up doesn't trust Deadpool because Wolverine understands that Deadpool doesn't have a conscience.
Right.
He's got his morals per se, but if you pay him enough and he doesn't have any objections, he'll do anything.
And I don't know. This movie does a really good excuse where it's it did the perfect amount of creating sympathy for the character as well as giving him justifiable psychosis that you're you don't get as mad about Deadpool doing some messed up things as you would about other people.
Well, it's like you said, I'm not a good guy. I just kill worse guys.
Right. You're okay, A, he had it tough. B, he's kind of crazy. He can't help it. You want to like the character so bad. It's really impressive the way they pulled that off. The
He's
whole
just
movie,
so
he's
damn
doing things
charismatic.
he shouldn't be doing, and you're just you're with him though every step.
He and Star-Lord in the new series actually have a lot in common in that way. They're not bad people, deep down,
Right.
but they're very selfish,
Right.
and they're willing to. They're not going to hold themselves to a moral standard.
One or two more nods from the camera from Star-Lord, and people would have been yes, I finally get the closest thing to Deadpool I'm ever going to get, right? Until the movie.
Until this happened.
Yeah. So, what do we have left to talk about here?
Honestly, we've already covered the budget triumph. The fact, briefly, they did so much with so little. And that's great and good for them.
Right.
Hopefully Fox isn't stupid and gives them more money this time.
They will.
I mean, they have to.
They didn't write the check until they saw the box office returns from last weekend,
like, oh
but
my
they're
God.
now writing the check. They're taking their time because it hurts them to write that much money, probably.
Like, God damn it! Well, you have to imagine Ryan Reynolds is at least a little bit annoying like that in real life. Like he's never gonna let us.
He has to have shades of that in real life. He is the guy that when you piss him off, he doesn't blow up on you, but he will not relent.
Oh, he'll sit there and scratch away
He has to be
at
that
you.
guy, right? And
Before you know it, you have a giant gash in your arm. Like, when did this happen?
Right. He just wears you down, and then you blow up, and then that's when he stops. When you blow up, he smiles and he walks away. He's won. He has to have that to an extent.
The only con I can see though is maybe other directors will be expected to do more with less per se, which I see is kind of like a not so likely situation because problem Hollywood, they're going to see this and go, let's make more of it. Without actually understanding
Wait
what
a minute,
comprises
you don't need 100,000. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But then again, there was only 2 X-Men. Well, 3 if you count Deadpool, but there was only 2 other X-Men, and really only 2.
Deadpool's never been an X-Men.
They don't like him.
Well, he's a mutant then. You 3 mutants,
He's
2
technically
X-Men.
not a mutant.
Yeah, he's mutate.
Yes.
I hate you both. That's why nobody liked Deadpool beforehand. It's fans like you. No, but anyways, there's really only 2 set pieces in the whole movie, and one of them is kind of rightfully criticized for like being like most other superhero movies. You know, so it's just like while this one made the most you could make of its budget, for most movies, like the ones with I don't know, like every Avenger in it, you know, it'd be hard. Like I get it, you need the budget there, so. It could go either way. Hopefully, they make studios realize, like, let's not throw away money here. You know, like, money is not equal a good movie. But, like you're saying, Mike, hopefully they don't get stingy now to the point of where they're like, look, you don't need this money. Just write better. Just write better dialogue. I don't know what they'd say, but...
Well, and it kind of goes back to it's one of those things where I think part of Joss Whedon's problem with the Avenger movies is that he went from Angel and Buffy to now having a huge toy box. And so part of that, he's going to go a little bit Michael Bay in some of his, scenery over setting,
right,
per se. But he's not done a bad job. I don't.
No, I mean, John, you haven't seen Ultron yet?
No.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie.
It's solid. I mean,
it's fine.
Joss Whedon doesn't make bad stuff. Joss Whedon makes stuff that's not as good as it
it's
could
entirely
be.
enjoyable.
I'm not a fan of Joss Whedon. That's why I haven't.
I'm really not either, but.
I am, but I'm also I'm dialogue.
His comics are good. His
well, John, you're with me
media
in saying that Avengers isn't our favorite movie.
Yeah, I despise it.
I like his. I've been reading. I'm waiting for part 3 from Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Warren, but I'm waiting for part 3 of his X-Men run, and I do enjoy that. But some of the dialogue just works better in comics.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, that's the thing. I'm the guy who loves the Tarantino dialogue dump. So I openly admit I'm a Whedonite. I'm not really a fanboy, but I'm invested in that quippy Scooby Gang from Buffy kind of exchanging.
Tarantino has 2 layers. Like Tarantino's dialogue isn't always quippy. You know what I mean? Whereas
no.
Avengers was quippy for too long. That was my complaint. Is like I feel like we quipped for 3/4 of this movie, and now we get all the action at the end, which is great.
The thing too is it's too damn tempting not to use Robert Downey Jr. to his full effect.
Right,
That's
I guess
part of it.
He's a black hole pulling everything towards him, so it's hard. You know, what I mean, that's understandable. And plus, that's where the money is made, right? With Robert Downey Jr.
Honestly,
and now Deadpool.
Oh yeah.
If anybody is ever going to challenge for scene, what do you call it? Scene chewery,
Eating it up. It's Deadpool.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is,
to be fair, Deadpool
funny.
is a lawnmower for scenery.
Yeah,
so.
no. If Deadpool's in a comic, though, he's going to want to be like.
He will be the center.
He
of attention.
wants to be the center of attention. That's like he's going to take it over,
especially if it's not his comic.
Yeah, that's
they hinted
him.
that. Have they? I'm sure they have. But have they ever hinted at that in the comic?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that's
where he's
something
basically
he does.
sorry, I couldn't resist, kind of a thing.
Funniest exchange between him and Spider-Man was when he's riding on Spider-Man's back, and Deadpool looks at the tree and goes, "Oh, the fanfic writers are gonna love this shit. And Spider-Man goes, for the last time, who the hell are you talking to?
Right.
Because now you're starting to creep me out. Like,
What kind of fanfic are you talking? Is this the kind where Korra and Asami get together until that's not fanfic, that's
actually
reality?
canon?
Yeah. Ugh. Anyways, what are we talking here?
last thing. Filthy casuals.
Filthy casuals.
Filthy casuals.
All right, John, you
What
have
about-
the stage.
What about the filthy casuals?
How they're taking our Deadpool.
How they're taking
They're
our
ruining
Deadpool.
it.
I mean, I'm always in for more people to like the same things as me. That's one thing that I really like. What I don't like is them claiming to be fans of Deadpool for a long time, and then when you try to talk to them about Deadpool, they're like, yeah, I have no clue what you're talking about.
That's true. Yeah.
And it's just like, why? Why would you even say that about yourself? Like, you
Right,
just
why
saw
would you
the movie
hype
and
it
that's
up? Because
it.
now I wanted to have a conversation with
Yeah,
you
it's
deeper
like,
than
you
this
made
movie.
me sad because I can't talk to you about Deadpool.
Right.
Well, it was funny. So I was at a comic convention and talking with a few of the artists and getting the feeling of the room. Even artists who love Deadpool, even diehard comic book geeks who love Deadpool, despise how many Deadpool cosplays there are. They hate how like literally, it's like comic book hipster,
Right.
and it fascinates me. And this is again segue to yet another podcast. At one point, do nerds have to take back nerddom from nerd chic,
Right.
or should we? Or is there a right for us to be?
Yeah, there's a fine line. I think John did it best because there's a fine line between nerds that are pissed because now they're not like this special thing that they held, that they had a certain arrogance over, right? Like they know better than you. It's the same kind of cockiness that comes from scientists in a sense, in terms of like the pride that's there is like, I am so much smarter than you. I get this super cool character that nobody else gets because they just don't. You know what I mean? Like I have that over them.
Yeah.
And then they're sad when that goes. To John's point, that's the way I feel a lot of the times.
Yeah.
When I get protective of a character, it's when like you said, people act like they're fans, and then you genuinely just want to have a conversation
And
with them.
they can't have
and
it.
when they can't, you're pissed because you're like, just admit that you had no idea what the character was. Like you don't get the same pride as me, and that's okay. Like,
Well, and honestly, there is a bit of I don't want to ever fully equate it to an actual oppressed population, regardless of its race, sex, religion, blah, blah, blah. But in terms of pop culture, we lived through the last bits of the Dark Ages where it was not cool to like comic book
Yeah,
characters.
we've gone through both. And
yeah.
And
Definitely, dude. HeroClix. I only talked to you guys about that.
Right?
I wasn't talking to that girl I liked.
No.
Hey, do you like HeroClix, by the way? Like now, you would take that chance.
oh yeah, it's possible.
You like a chick, and you want to find out. Do you like HeroClix? Because there's that chance she likes it,
Oh yeah,
and then that's super dope. And if she doesn't like it, you'd be like, yeah, never mind.
oh yeah.
Never mind, we can go
She'll
do
be
something
like,
else.
yeah, right. She'll be like, oh, is that with like Captain America? Yeah, okay. Then you can segue to the movie, right, and make her forget you ever talked about HeroClix. It's funny what you reminded me of, Mike, when you talked about like the overabundance of cosplayers. I'm glad we have John here. You met what is it?
D. Pitty.
D. Pitty. You met D. Pitty, probably the most notable Deadpool cosplayer from before this movie came out. By the way,
Yeah.
I don't know how long. I'm sure he
was
been
doing
a
it
while.
before.
Right,
it was
he
cool.
does YouTube videos and all this
I was
stuff.
mean to ask you, does he personify the character? Like, is he always in character, or is he normal guy?
No, he's totally normal, guys.
Okay.
Chill, when he approached us when we were in our Tapa, he was just talking about
We'll have to-
Tapa. He's like, "What is this?" And
We should link that then. Link me the video because John and a couple of Justin, who's been mentioned in this cast, a couple of our other pals, were in a D. Pitty video montage from Phoenix Comic Con last year in their Tapa cosplays. It was
Which was
really
dope, by the way.
It's really dope. It's quick. Like we'll have to even reference like where it is.
God, I hope I'm not in
in.
a brawl off mode because I was fat.
I don't think you were.
But he
you there?
don't think- I
didn't,
think I was
know
that
what
day.
interested. He didn't know Tapa.
Yeah, but he asked about it, and he.
See,
Oh,
that's a
that's
cool nerd. That's a guy
Yeah.
that gets
Yeah.
it. It's like you don't
What
have
is
to
this?
act like just because you're in the know about one character, you don't have to be in the know about all characters.
No, you
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
the thing, like, he was asking, like, what is, because we were doing our pose, we were piercing the heavens and all, and he's like, what is that? And he's like, can like,
can I pierce with
yeah,
you?
he's like, can I pierce the heavens with you guys? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, okay, so then he filmed it, and we
And
made
see the
video. So
the joke about Deadpool though is that would work. That would
Yeah.
actually
Would.
make sense.
If
Oh,
Deadpool
so much
showed up
sense.
in like the manga for Tapa and was just doing it and literally just winked, it was a close up of a wink, and then disappeared, that wouldn't be out of the ordinary for the character.
Yeah, no, D-Pity is a cool Deadpool cosplayer because he's a normal person who cosplays Deadpool.
Yeah, he's not.
And when he's in character, he's in character.
Well, so did you guys ever?
There are Deadpool cosplayers who
have to make the comments and be
and it's like some of those comments don't need to be made. Like, I mean, like none have really been made towards me, but I've heard them
like me, like rude.
Like those could be taken wrongly. Like, don't do that.
Right.
So
you didn't earn the right to make these comments. I mean, your Deadpool cosplay was great, but like Ryan Reynolds, that dude worked for 7 years to make a movie.
This is yet another podcast topic.
Cool
like,
dude, you know
the perils of cosplay, because I've seen some stuff that it's like, well, shoot, what happened at Comic-Con? A guy knocked off my, broke a part of my helmet off. I dressed up as the Broloff skin for Olaf from League of Legends, and some jackwad knocked off my, a portion of my
filthy
helmet.
wad of jack.
Right. Like, I've never come this close to actually assaulting someone before. Like, I was infuriated because why the hell would you do that?
Just why?
Yeah.
Like,
why?
It's weird from nerd culture because a lot of us are accepting, but a lot of and then there's like a hardcore group that I feel that just really aren't.
Right.
We saw that at TayuCon.
Well, and it's because they have...
Or, sorry, not KakoriCon. Oh my god, you don't want to watch a bunch of anime fans go at it about each other's
Who knows
animes.
the most anime and,
or your fandom is horrible, your fandom's horrible, and they get really messed up.
It's the people that did take a lot of crap for it for probably most of their lives that it pains them to see new fans coming to it and it being so easy for them, right?
I did have that moment. A jock that we grew up with was wearing some kind of a geeky shirt, and I flashed back to a day where he gave me crap for liking that. And I go, you bleepity bleeping hypocrite. Like, oh my god.
Right.
You don't even know anything about that character.
Right.
Do you? You just know that that's cool now. And see, I get that side of hipsterdom. I understand that.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you not to wear that shirt.
I have that kind of mentality at times. I'm fairly accepting, but I feel the same way with people who dissed on it and then like it.
Yeah.
So it's funny because when we were walking out of Deadpool, there was this gal that was like, and I probably heard the wrong part of the conversation.
I know what you're talking about.
She's like, oh my god, Deadpool wanted to be an X-Men, and this movie totally depicts it like he doesn't even want to be an X-Men. That's just stupid. And I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh, lady, like just chill, like it's a good movie. Like,
did you hear what I said?
And then John walks out of the theater and he's like, okay, I love the movie. He's like, I'll just give you my complaints because that'll be a lot quicker than what I liked because I liked pretty much everything. He goes, one of my complaints is that Deadpool wanted to be an X-Men. They may say, shit.
Yeah, he made his own costume and everything.
I was like, oh dang, I guess okay, nope, that's a legitimate complaint for Deadpool.
He also dressed up as a Marvel girl. That was a very scary panel, by the way.
That was hilarious what that was.
So it's just it's me being overly sensitive because I hate those kind of fans, but.
Well, but see, this is where I turned to my guest that wasn't actually in our group of friends up at that point. I turned to him and went, well, that's a great thing about an alternate universe. It's a new medium.
Right.
Yeah, I was accepting about, the whole not being Weapon X thing. That was fine.
Right. Because
it made sense.
We've been there, done that, and it didn't end well.
Well, it's funny because my experience with this was when I would talk to people about Force Awakens, I would happily, literally adjust my level of depth for my conversation to the person.
Oh yeah, you'd have to.
Because I would talk to casuals, and then I might mention, I like when Ray did this, and if they weren't like, oh, I get that. If they were just like, I really like that. Like my girlfriend's father, for instance, loved, spoiler alert, a part late in the movie that I didn't like about Ray. And, I didn't push any further of, I didn't like that. Because, you know what? At the end of the day, he likes it for good reasons. I like it for good reasons.
Right.
It's a great movie. Everyone likes it for different reasons. I'm just happy to talk about it. And,
See, the article. I had so many people call me or text me to argue with me. Right. And I went, type it.
And you literally said, episode 8 could nullify this whole thing, which is so fair. I'm right there with you. I think.
Hell, I even not even without that, I put it in out. Okay, if they're trying to use this as a metaphor, then fine.
Right. You cover. Great. I mean, it was a hint of covering your bases, but at the same time, you were being fair. And that's all I ask is for people is make your bold statements, but be fair about it. And I thought you were in your article. And that's all I want for hardcore fans is I kind of get it. When you had to take a lot of crap or you couldn't tell people you like this, it's kind it hurts a little bit, right? Because it comes so easily now to the people that have only seen the Deadpool movie. Like me, I'm really not a Deadpool fan, I'll tell you that. And I don't
You're
have
a comic fan.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love comics, I love these movies. And that's
But
I
you're
like,
also not afraid to admit that you're just getting into a lot of these comics.
yeah, I mean, it's also documented. Me and Chris talked about how we didn't like Deadpool, but we did say the movie it might be good, like, and that's what I gave it. I was like, you know what, this movie deserves a chance.
I'm glad that I turned to John and went, hell yeah, let's do this. Like,
I only went, oh, Ryan Reynolds is in it? That could be good. I'll wait and see. And I kept my expectations low and they were blown away. And so, man, they caught lightning in a bottle. Hopefully.
that's actually a really good euphemism for this.
Yeah, because, this is going to be hard to replicate. It's like, how is this going to revolutionize superhero movies? And it's funny because I've heard so many conversations like Spill. It's not Spill anymore. I still call it Spill.
Corey Coleman's
thingy-majogger that he does now. They're talking about how this is so fresh, could have revolutionized, blah, blah, blah. Why are we acting like the superhero movie formula is broken? Like, why are we acting like...
I mean, this was a...
This may not revolutionize anything because I think a lot of people, like the Disney movies, they can't do rated R.
No.
But they're going to look at it and be like...
Nor will they.
Why do we need to change? Civil War is going to make $1 billion, and I think it's going to be a great movie. I really do. We'll see.
But see, here's what Disney could do to be a little more Deadpool-y, and in terms of the darkness. Have an Avenger kill another Avenger.
Yeah.
That's it. You have gravity,
and
you have hard gravity. You don't have softly, gently Loki died, but not really. Spoiler alert. Gravity. You have oh my god, there's repercussions for something that happened later down the line after everybody's made up.
Let me take that a step further though. Don't let it be a side character. Don't let Hawkeye die or something where nobody's gonna care. Have the balls. Kill Tony Stark. Here's why. Robert Downey Jr. already wants out. He said that the Thanos movie would be his last movie, right? Take one step further. Just kill him now. Let Cap kill Tony Stark.
Oh my goodness. That would be crazy if
Get
Cap
this.
was the one to do it.
Get this.
Or better yet.
Let me finish. Hey, let me finish. I'm a Kanye West.
Let you finish. Right?
No. Let Cap kill Iron Man. And you're thinking, what? You can't get rid of Robert Downey Jr. as a gold mine. But here's the thing. You're going to make the best movie ever. Everyone's going to freak out and probably love it. As long as you make it a compelling way that he dies and it's towards the end of the movie, so you still get to enjoy the movie. And then you embrace the comic culture. When Thanos hits, let something zany happens that lets a new Iron Man come from an alternate dimension. Just bring it in. Just bring it in. Just go in. We're ready. We're there. As long as it's good, and I know you're going to have to get an actor, and people are going to have to accept that he's not Robert Downey Jr., but as long as you can get somebody else charismatic that is semi-attractive, you can get your cake and eat it, too, with that whole scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's how you can be edgy without being raunchy.
Well, it's like an alternate universe. They could totally even make it just like his kid. Like, if he had a kid and, he was Iron Man at that point in time, so it's like a future thing.
Zany. It doesn't have to
they could do something crazy.
Well, you know what?
I think we're there. We're on like Captain America 7. Like we're ready. Like the people, the casual audience has been primed, and the people they're kind of mad about it at first. They have enough friends that are into this comic stuff that are they're going to have these conversations. They're going to talk it through and realize that's cool for this and this reason.
Well, that the movies had to have spawned some comic readers. Like,
oh yeah,
so
definitely. Well, because I want to read some Deadpool now. Like I'm never going to go in depth on Deadpool. Like I'm never going to go out of my way to read.
I'll start with Deadpool.
But John was talking about Deadpool Cable. Like I want to read.
I was just about to say start with Deadpool Cable.
Yeah, like that's just something
really good one.
Sounds really interesting, and I can get my fill on the Deadpool and understand more about the character.
Well, see, something else that could happen too is if say Bucky kills Stark.
Yeah,
and Cap tells Cap and Bucky beat his ass, and Stark's just sitting there and he's not dead yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Bucky's about to hit the killing blow. Cap goes, "No, you don't need to," but
he does it anyways. Yeah.
Turns out Stark was right. That right there, that's a compelling conflict.
Right.
Because now, does Cap actually go against his own morals?
Right.
And argue for his opinion for opinion's sake rather than what he thinks is right? Can he lead the Avengers now?
Right.
That he participated in what ended up killing one of his own?
Right.
When he was wrong, maybe they should have taken Bucky out. Maybe he's too damaged. Maybe I am too much of an idealist. Maybe I do need limits.
Right.
turn it on its head, guys. We're grown-ups.
And we already wrote the next Deadpool joke because he looks at the camera and goes, and by the way, if you're worried about me dying in this movie, I don't want it out of my contract. Boom, because then you have it. Because you could just say, you know what I mean? Like, that's why this whole thing makes sense. If Robert Downey Jr. is down for 20 more movies, you don't touch that ever. So you are writing your next Deadpool jokes with this, man. Deadpool 3? Come on. Well, actually, the character can't die also, but that's besides spoilers.
I mean, he can, but you have to literally like
very hard
destroy every.
He's the
cell
opposite
in his
of
body.
Superman. Throw him into the sun.
You know, from Dragon Ball Z, where Majin Buu exploded, and they're trying to like shoot every little remnant,
little piece of him,
and they
right.
missed just one. You know, you can't do that.
They missed the single cell.
Yeah.
I did like how
the single cell.
And then, like Saiyans, he came back 9 times stronger.
Oh my god!
Deadpool could look at the camera and be like, "I'm not a Saiyan. I don't come back 9 times stronger."
Even more
the jokes
perfect.
He can say even more perfect.
I'd like
psych, and then he could go, "Psych, I don't have any Saiyan genes." Deadpool can say that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I'd like
totally could.
I'd like to see Deadpool like doing push-ups and has a shirt. I'm training to beat Goku. He's just doing push-ups like. Oh,
these movies really do write themselves, and I'm not trying to underplay. Like, we could really do it. No, they still did an S rank job.
S plus, man.
Yeah, but like when you get it, just my point is when you give it to people that care, like this stuff can write itself.
Oh yeah.
And so, and I think that's where the movies go from here. I don't think they're necessarily darker or raunchier. I just think they embrace again the things that make it so fun and so cool. I think they embrace it. So if it means killing off character. And then totally bringing them back for the dumbest reason ever, just because you need an Iron Man.
Welcome to comics.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're there. I think we bridged the gap, and that's all I have left to say about it. So,
well, cool.
John, you got?
I think it's about it.
No, I mean, I agree with what you said. So
let's bring this guy on. He likes Squirtle. He got Pokemon Red first, just like I did. He agrees with everything I said.
You can't hear me shaking my head about this sort of thing.
Yeah, Mike's he's really distraught right now. Actually,
sad.
Hey, don't be like
really sad.
hardcore nerds that want to guard their little thing. Just because all our guests always agree with you, they always agree with you, right, Mike? They can't agree with me. No, that'd be just.
This is the first one. I'm 0 for 0. I'm 0 for 1, man.
Hey, we're embracing alternate universes these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the alternate me from whatever next cast appears.
Can I believe in the you that believes in
you?
Can I believe in the you that believes in Charmander and not Squirtle?
That guy died. I'm the alternate universe one.
Oh,
with
so
that
you
one,
killed him, of course.
Yeah. That's why I'm the Squirtle liker.
That universe
boy.
already collapsed.
Yeah.
You know? Sorry.
So, why did you collapse your universe and come to mine? And what are you doing with my John?
Oh, man. For real, though, I'm reading a new Avengers run right now, which is about a universe collapsing and, like, why are you in our universe now? So, just for me personally, this is a very personal aside that really jived well with what I'm living right now.
Well, everybody, thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all that other garbage. And check out all the streams and the articles that'll be hitting the page soon.
Surprise! This is a different kind of superhero story. To tell it right, we gotta take you back before I squeeze this ass into spandex.
Wait! You may be wondering why the red suit. Well, that's so bad guys can't see me bleed. This guy's got the right idea. He wore the brown pants.
I'd say that you sound like an infomercial, but not a good one, like Slap Chop, more shake weighty.
Besides, nobody's getting hurt. That guy was up there before we got here. Ow! Ah! Right up Main Street.
Daddy needs to express some rage.
Does that make me crazy?